Part 98. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 971. Su Tianqian frowned and whispered, "It's indeed a bit strange, but, I can't see what kind of existence they are." I was slightly stunned, even Su Tianqian couldn't figure out what was weird about the three of them. This made me wary. The bus was traveling slowly on the mountain road. Just after turning a corner, the old man who got on the bus with me suddenly stood up, yelling loudly for him to get out of the car. The bus driver was a little displeased when he heard this and said, "Get off? What kind of bus are you getting off? There are no villages in front of you or any shops in these barren mountains and mountains. If something happens to you after you get off the bus, who will be responsible?" The old man looked nervous. His whole body was shaking uncontrollably, his eyes were wandering, and he glanced at the back seat from time to time. I don't care. I just want to get off here. Stop the car for me." The bus driver gave the old man a few words of advice. It's nothing more than worrying about the safety of the elderly. However, the old man was very stubborn and would go on regardless. The bus driver had no choice but to pull over. Before the old man left, he whispered something as he passed me. "Young man, get out of here quickly, those three guys who came up just now are not human." After that, the old man got out of the car in a hurry. I looked at the back of the old man leaving, and his expression became more serious. Su Tianqian also heard the old man's whisper. She lowered her eyes and fell into deep thought. Since the three guys came up, they have remained silent and made no movements. They leaned on the seats quietly like corpses. The bus engine roared and then moved forward slowly. The situation is still unclear, so we can only wait and see what happens and remain silent. I was sitting by the car window, but at this moment, I suddenly noticed a dark shadow out of the corner of my eye. I was stunned on the spot for a moment, and then looked out the car window. This sight didn't matter. It instantly made me break out in a cold sweat. I saw a man standing by the road. And that person was the old man who just went down. At this moment, he seemed to be a different person. His expression was numb, his face was ashen, and his eyes were full of viciousness and resentment. 2 or 3 minutes have passed since the old man got off the car. Although the car was traveling slowly, an old man couldn't catch up. And now, he was standing outside the window. I patted Su Tianqian on the shoulder and motioned her to look out the window. Su Tianqian followed my gaze and looked out the window. This sight also made her frown. "Oops, it looks like we fell into a trap," Su Tianqian said in a serious voice. "Trap? What trap?" As soon as I finished speaking, a sinister laugh came from the back of the car. "Oh my God! Who's laughing so hard?" Xiao He suddenly stood up from his seat. I also stood up and looked at the three people at the back of the car. The three of them were wrapped tightly, their heads were lowered, and the expressions on their faces could not be seen clearly, but the shoulders of the person among the three were shrugged. "It's him who laughs again." Hua Xiu seemed to feel something and stood up suddenly, staring at the person closely. "Zombie!" Hua Xiu murmured softly. At this moment, the three people stood up slowly, their lowered heads slowly raised. Their bodies were very stiff, as if they were puppets wound up by clockwork, and they looked extremely strange. Sudden, an extremely powerful corpse energy burst out from the man. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 972. I stared at that guy. It was indeed a zombie. The guy slowly raised his head, his face was pale, his eyes were strange, and there was a bloodthirsty red light in his eyes. "Got you." The zombie opened his mouth to speak, and the cold mist slowly spit out from his mouth. Hua Xiu stood in front of me with an arrow. She looked at the zombie in front of her coldly. Her beautiful eyes were gradually replaced by blood-red light, and her whole body exuded a suffocating chill. Brother, he is winning. Windhoek. Yingu was originally a general under the Yellow Emperor. Unfortunately, during a battle with Chu, he failed to obey the Yellow Emperor's instructions, which led to his defeat. Huangdi was furious and sent Yingu to guard Huang Quanming Hai. The last part of Jian's soul seemed to drift to the underworld intentionally or unintentionally. After Yingu saw Jian's soul, he hesitated whether to completely eliminate it, but when he hesitated, Jian's soul penetrated into his body. Yingu struggled to resist, but under the constant temptation of Jian's remnant soul, the two souls merged and became a more powerful god. After the soul fusion was successful, Yingu became one of the four ancestors of zombies. According to legend, Yingu was already extremely powerful, and after merging with Jian's soul, he became even more invulnerable. Huangdi held the Xianyuan sword and fought with him for 49 days, and finally destroyed Yingu's body, but Yingu fled with his soul and was nowhere to be found. When I arrived at Penglai Immortal Island, Zhao Mian told me that the ancestors of the four zombies would definitely come to me. But I never thought they would come so quickly. Yingu glanced at Huaxiu with his cold eyes, a look of surprise appeared on his face. Not turning into bones, Yingu said in surprise, but as soon as he said this, he denied it. No. No, you haven't matured yet, you're just a 1,000-year-old zombie. Huaxiu looked at Yingu warily. I have never seen Huaxiu look so serious. As one of the four ancestors of zombies, Yingu itself has a deterrent effect on all zombies. I walked past Huaxiu, and Huaxiu quickly grabbed my arm and said, "Brother Emperor, you are no match for him." Of course I know I am no match for Yingu. I was able to repel that god with just the strength of my general. How could it be so easy to win as the ancestor of the four zombies? Fine. I looked at Yingu and asked word for word, "You said you finally found me. Why are you looking for me?" Yingu looked at me teasingly with his cold eyes. "I'm looking for you. Actually, I just want to see what you have become. But now that I've seen it, I'm really disappointed." Yingu's condescending and preaching tone made me very unhappy. But even so I didn't say anything. Yingu continued, "Logically speaking, you killed the golden retriever and let the power that originally belonged to us return to our bodies. I should thank you. It seems that the three souls that escaped from Penglai Xiandao have returned to their bodies. But, you have a reason to die. If you don't die, we will be the ones who die. Moreover, the Corpse King General will take back the general's power in your body with his own hands." I didn't want to talk nonsense with him, so I summoned the heart sword, pointed it at Yingu, and said, "Stop talking nonsense, if you want my life, take it yourself." At the same time as Jingxiao appeared, an aura of awe spread from the Jingxiao sword body. This aura made Yingu look shocked. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 973. Jingxiao was originally made of centuries-old lightning strike wood, and then fused with the heart sword with the essence of the sacred tree. These two existences are merged together, and the awe-inspiring energy and yang energy contained in them are like the vast river water, which is impossible to measure. Now it is no exaggeration to say that Jingxiao is a unique weapon. Su Tianxian also walked out of her seat. She stood beside me and looked at Yingu lightly. "Oh. 3 against 1. Yingu said jokingly. At this time, Xiao He took a step forward, golden light flashed all over his body, and his hair, which was originally as black as ink, turned into a raging fire. And although Xiao He usually seems careless, he is very reliable at critical moments. After his transformation, his appearance was not bad, with sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, a face as sharp as a knife, and a hint of cynicism reflected between his eyebrows. Yingo faced us, with no fear on his face, but a sinister smile. If it's not a matter of time, I really want to play with you. Saying that, Yingo slowly raised his hand and then lowered it. The two guys beside him slowly raised their heads, and when I saw their faces clearly, their pupils trembled slightly. These two guys are also zombies. Their faces are livid, rotten, and smelly, and there are maggots crawling in their pitted faces. Not to mention how scary they are. Yingo looked at me deeply and said, "Next time we meet, be prepared to die." With that said, Yingo jumped directly from the window. I didn't go after him because the current situation didn't allow me to do so. Because Xiang Yi is trapped in Bamang Mountain and does not know whether he is alive or dead, if he conflicts with Yingo, things will only get worse. The two rotting and stinking zombies rushed towards us like walking zombies. At this time, the driver noticed something strange behind the car and shouted, "What are you doing?" As he spoke, he slowed down and looked behind him. It didn't matter what he saw, it scared the driver out of his soul. "Ah!" The driver screamed and forgot to drive. I shouted at Xiao He, "Go and hold this guy steady. Don't let the car go out of control." Xiao He nodded repeatedly and quickly came to the driver's seat to negotiate with the driver. I looked at the two rotting and stinking zombies in front of me. The corpse aura exuding from their bodies was very strong, which made them feel extremely dangerous. Hua Xiu said on the side, "These two zombies should have 400 years of experience, but they are not difficult for us to deal with." Two zombies with 400 years of experience are indeed troublesome. But it's very simple for Hua Xiu. You know, Hua Xiu is a 1,000-year-old zombie. Hua Xiu stepped forward and slowly opened her red lips. The two cute little tiger teeth instantly became extremely sharp. Her eyes were gradually replaced by blood red, and she looked coquettish, cold, and beautiful. Hua Xiu walked forward step by step, and the two zombies instinctively felt fear. But after hesitating for a moment, the two guys rushed towards Hua Xiu with their teeth and claws bared. Hua Xiu's expression condensed, and he stretched out his hand and punched it hard. There was a bang as Hua Xiu's fist pierced the zombie's chest. However, the zombies did not die immediately. Su Tianxian said, "Hua Xiu can only injure it. If you want to completely eliminate it, you still need something from the sun." I nodded, raised Jingxiao in my hand and rushed towards the two zombies. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 974. The easiest way to kill a zombie is sunlight. But zombies are not stupid. They have their own intelligence, so they will not run into the sun with you stupidly. My speed was extremely fast, and the zombie closest to me didn't even react before I stabbed it through the chest with my Jingxiao. The moment Jingxiao came into contact with the zombies, there was a sizzling sound in the air. The zombie opened its mouth wide and let out a heart-rending cry of pain. In the blink of an eye, the zombie turned into ashes. I looked at Jingxiao in my hand with some surprise. The power of this Jingxiao is so terrifying. I followed the same pattern and pierced the chest of another zombie with my sword. This zombie, like the previous one, turned into ashes and disappeared into the air. After dealing with these two zombies, I sat back in my seat. I started thinking about what had just happened. Why did Yingo come about? Is it as simple as him coming here just to see me? Moreover, if he wants to cause trouble for me, he can't find these two weak zombies, right? It is said that it is a zombie with 400 years of Taoism, which gives me the feeling that it has just taken shape. Seeing my silence, Su Tianxian asked, "Xiao Su, what are you thinking about?" I told Su Tianxian exactly what I was thinking, and she fell silent after listening. After a while, he raised his head and said, "He came to you, probably along the way." I was slightly stunned and asked, "Master, you mean, he originally came here to do other things, and then he learned that I was here, so he came to test my authenticity?" Su Tianqian nodded and replied, "That's right. There is an irresolvable conflict between me and the four ancestors of zombies. Especially the generals, and the source of the conflict is the Golden Horse. I beheaded Jin Mahuan, and his three souls with overwhelming resentment returned to the bodies of Yinggu, Hooking, and Hanba, the three ancestors of zombies. However, these three zombie ancestors also inherited the resentment of the Golden Retriever towards me. Yinggu is right, the next time we meet is the day of my death. I have to face the four ancestors of zombies alone. This kind of thing is a bit unrealistic. However, after experiencing so many things, I also know that I cannot belittle myself and must work hard for everything. In order to become stronger, I can only find a way to take the power of the general as my own, or try every means to use the power in the bodies of the other three zombies." I sighed helplessly. It was useless to think too much now. The most urgent task for the party now is to rescue Xiang Yi. Bus Che's mood has been calmed down by Xiao He. He didn't ask too much. He also knew that asking too much about this kind of thing would not be good for him. After the little episode was over, I leaned back in my seat, vaguely feeling that I had overlooked something. I turned my head and looked out the window, frowning at the ever-changing night scene outside. Wait, I seem to remember something I overlooked. I stood up abruptly and looked around. Su Tianqian was stunned for a moment and asked doubtfully, "Xiao Su, what's wrong with you?" I looked at Su Tianqian nervously and said, "Master, do you still remember the old man who got off the car just now?" Su Tianqian seemed to have thought of something, and his face instantly turned extremely ugly. I said, "That old man is obviously not a normal person. He must be coming for us." The reason why he got out of the car was because he noticed the existence of Yinggu. If Yinggu doesn't take action, then he will be the one to do it next. As soon as I finished speaking, the whole car started shaking violently. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 975. I quickly looked out the car window. I saw thick white fog suddenly rising outside the car window, and the visibility was less than 5 meters. At this moment, a road sign suddenly flashed in front of my eyes. Not long after, another road sign flashed by, and the words on it were exactly the same as the one I just saw. Ghost hitting the wall. As soon as this idea appeared, the driver who was driving screamed in horror. What's going on?" I stood up, came to the driver's seat, and asked, "What happened?" The driver looked ahead in horror and stammered, "I've obviously already walked this road." The driver's words further confirmed my inner thoughts. We had encountered a ghost beating the wall. I said to the driver, "Master, please pull over and stop the car." The driver nodded repeatedly and slammed on the brakes, but a strange scene happened. No matter how hard the driver applied the brakes, the car showed no sign of stopping. What's even more weird is that because of the panic in his heart, the driver's hands have taken off the steering wheel, but the bus is still moving forward slowly. What the hell is going on? The strange scene in front of him completely frightened the driver. His reaction is also reasonable. After all, he is just an ordinary person and has never experienced such weird things. I said, "Don't panic yet, drive properly, I'll take care of it." The driver's spirit began to collapse under the continuous stimulation. He stood up, looked around in a panic, and kept mumbling, "I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here." His voice suddenly rose, and he rushed out of the driver's seat like a madman. When I saw this, I raised my hand and slapped the driver hard on the face. "Calm down. There's only one end for you if you go out now. That's death." This slap stunned the driver instantly. The original emotional breakdown has also eased. He nodded dully, sat back in the driver's seat, and I said, "What you have to do now is stay here. As long as I'm here, nothing will happen to you." After a few words with the driver, I arrived in front of Su Tianqian. I saw Su Tianqian sitting on the seat at this time, making secrets with both hands and muttering something in his mouth. She was trying to crack the ghost wall, but after some operations, nothing happened. Su Tianqian raised his head, looked at me, and said, "This ghost wall is very weird, and I can't break it." Even Su Tianqian couldn't break the ghost wall. How powerful should that fierce ghost be? Then what should we do now? Su Tianqian pondered for a moment and said, "That fierce ghost should be nearby. As long as we can successfully kill it, the ghost wall will naturally be broken. But, it's a difficult problem to find that fierce ghost now. The so-called ghost hitting the wall means that when walking at night or in the suburbs, you can't tell the direction, your self-perception is blurred, and you don't know where to go, so you always keep spinning in circles. In fact, to put it simply, the yin-qi produced by the evil spirits affects the magnetic field around you. This gives you the illusion." Su Tianqian thought for a long time, then came to Miao Fengluan and said, "Fengluan, use Shinayan to hide the entire car, and use your Shinayan to offset the ghost wall. In this case, the fierce ghost will naturally be exposed to our sight." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 976. Miao Fengluan nodded after hearing this, then clasped her hands together and slowly spread them out. A beam of white light slowly spread out from her palms, and then enveloped the entire bus. Of course, everyone in the car was also protected by Shinayan. From the outside, even the people in the bus disappeared in an instant, but we felt nothing inside the bus. Su Tianqian closed his eyes and carefully felt the surrounding situation. After a moment, Su Tianqian suddenly opened his eyes, stretched out his slender hand, pointed to the roof of the car and said, "It's up there." I nodded, and without any hesitation, I used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already on the roof of the car. The surrounding white fog made visibility extremely low, but I could vaguely see a black figure lying on the roof of the car in the white fog. I walked towards the black figure without any caution at all. Because I have the protection of Shinayan, I naturally don't have to worry about being discovered by it. As I walked, I seemed to step on something soft under my feet. I was slightly stunned, and when I looked down, I saw a scarlet tongue being stepped on under my feet. Tongue. I looked around at the roof of the car, and this sight made my scalp tingle instantly. I saw that the huge car body was bound by a scarlet tongue, and the length of this tongue reached a jaw-dropping level. At this moment, the black figure on the roof of the car stood up slowly, and then the white mist flowed, and the black figure rushed towards me at an extremely fast speed. I looked stern and quickly dodged sideways. It seemed that I just stepped on its tongue and was discovered by it. The black shadow passed me by, and then landed steadily in front of me. At this moment, I also saw clearly the appearance of the dark figure. It was a woman with pale skin, disheveled hair, a livid complexion, her mouth wide open, and a scarlet tongue sticking out of her mouth, tying up the entire bus. This is the hanged ghost. Hanged ghost, the ghost of a person who hanged himself in folklore, is also called the hanged ghost. According to legend, if you encounter one while walking at night, be sure not to look at it. It will tempt you to hang yourself in the same way as him. Hanged ghosts are generally very painful or suffered great injustices during their lifetime. The hanged ghost in front of her was full of resentment. No wonder Su Tianqian couldn't detect the ghost she created. The hanged ghost's eyes full of resentment were wandering around, constantly looking for my direction. If you want to break the ghost wall, you must kill this fierce ghost. I took a deep breath, summoned Jingxiao, and rushed towards the hanged ghost. But just as I moved my body, I accidentally touched the tongue under my feet. At that moment, The hanged ghost's body was filled with yin energy, and he rushed toward me. I was shocked. Even with the protection of the gods, this hanged ghost could still sense my presence through its tongue on the ground. I have to say that this hung ghost is really difficult to deal with. I used the ability of Nine Eyes' heavenly domain and disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he waved the sword in his hand and swung it hard at the tongue under him. I just heard a puff, and the scarlet tongue was cut off by me. I swung my sword a few more times and cut off all the tongues tied to the car body. Ah! The hanged ghost let out a heart-rending howl. I didn't hesitate, and the hanged ghost walked up to the hanged ghost, and while it was wailing, I put Jingxiao directly on her neck. Give you a chance to reincarnate. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 977. The hanged ghost in front of him cannot be killed for the time being. There are various signs that the appearance of this hanging ghost is not accidental, but inevitable. Someone manipulated it to come here to cause trouble for us. And this person is most likely the old man who got off the car before. I want to find out the identity of the old man from the mouth of this hanging ghost. The hanged ghost felt the yang qi coming from Jingxiao, which made her tremble all over. I summoned the heavenly secret and cast the soul-binding talisman. Countless ropes formed by golden light instantly bound the hanged ghost. The hanged ghost also lost its ability to move at the moment of being tied up. This hanged ghost's moral character is not very high, but it is very difficult to confuse people's minds and create illusions. I grabbed the hanged ghost's shoulders and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already in the carriage. And the ghost wall still exists. Su Tianqian frowned slightly when she saw that I had brought back a hanged ghost, and then whispered softly, "A raised hung ghost." I nodded, looked at the hanged ghost, and asked coldly, "Tell me who asked you to come. As long as you tell the truth, I can give you a chance to be reincarnated." The resentment in hanged ghost's eyes remained unchanged, but after seeing Su Tianqian and Huaxiu, his eyes were filled with fear. I can't say. The hanged ghost's speech is somewhat slurred because of its long tongue. Cannot say? It seems the threat is not enough. I put Jingxiao on the hanged ghost's neck and said coldly, "You are also a pitiful person. I don't want to hurt you, but if you are stubborn and unwilling to tell the truth, then don't blame me for being cruel." The hanged ghost looked at the Jingxiao in my hand with fear in his eyes. She trembled and said, "Yes, it's a Taoist section." Before the hanged ghost finished speaking, a horrifying yin qi suddenly erupted from his body, and his originally normal pupils were turning scarlet at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Tianqian stretched out his hand and pulled me back. "Careful!" The hanged ghost shouted angrily and shook the golden rope off his body. The yin energy and resentment in her body have increased countless times. Moreover, the look on her face seemed to me like she had lost her mind. The long tongue in the hanged ghost's mouth grew wildly and rushed towards us at extremely fast speeds. I subconsciously protected Su Tianqian. Although I knew that the hanging ghost in front of me could not hurt her, this was what my subconscious did. I held Jingxiao and cut off the long tongue, but the long tongue that had just been cut off healed quickly. Jajaja. The hanged ghost suddenly laughed sinisterly. "Lusu. Lusu. What a good method. What a good method. I didn't expect that I couldn't kill you even if I won the hook." The hanged ghost opened and closed, making sounds that did not belong to her. That was the voice of an old man. I had never heard it before. It seemed like he was the person behind the manipulation of the hanged ghost. "You want to go to Bamang Mountain to destroy our daemon and Zhang Yacheng's plan? You are simply overestimating your capabilities. Now I can confirm that there is an ulterior purpose between daemon and Zhang Yacheng. And the trip to Bamang Mountain seems not as simple as I imagined." I looked at the hanged ghost coldly and said, "You want to stop me? Stop dreaming." The hanged ghost once again let out an eerie and strange laugh. "Yeah." As soon as the hanged ghost finished speaking, I felt a frightening gloom coming from outside the car window. Immediately afterwards, the sound of howling ghosts could be heard endlessly, and Xiao He exclaimed, "Damn it! So many ghosts!" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 978. I looked out through the car window and saw dense crowds of people floating in the forest, then rushing toward us at extremely fast speeds. I was shocked. I didn't expect this person's strength to be so terrifying. Able to control hundreds of ghosts. The bus that couldn't stop just now suddenly braked and stopped in place. Countless evil spirits climbed in through the windows. Although the entire car was protected by Shinayan, I brought the hanged ghost in front of me into it and let the person in the dark find our traces. I took a deep breath and summoned the ghost sea. The inky darkness condensed outside the bus and formed a flowing ocean. One after another, Yin soldiers wearing armor slowly emerged from the sea of ghosts. I gave the order, and the Yin soldiers pulled out the weapons from their waists and fought with the 100 ghosts. I winked at Su Tianxian, who understood. I lifted up the heart sword and used the 9 eyes heavenly domain, and instantly disappeared from the spot. Su Tianxian squeezed the technique with both hands and used the 9 levels of thunder technique. My disappearance made the hanged ghost slightly startled. When I appeared again, I was already behind the hanged ghost. I raised the Jingxiao in my hand and slashed hard at the hanged ghost. The hanged ghost reacted quickly and turned back sharply, waving its long tongue, and came straight towards me to tie me up. I quickly waved the Jingxiao in my hand and cut off the long tongue. However, the self-healing ability of this long tongue is very strong, and it has returned to its original state the moment it was cut off. At this moment, Su Tianxian came behind the hanged ghost with the thunder ju in his hand, raised the thunder ju in his hand and struck the hanged ghost hard. There was only a rumble, thunder and lightning flashing throughout the carriage. Just one blow sent the hanged ghost flying backwards. The hanged ghost struggled on the ground for a few times and then stopped moving. Just when the hanged ghost was about to lose his soul, the voice came again. Su Tianxian, let's see how long you can protect your apprentice. Su Tianxian glanced at the hanged ghost lightly and said, he doesn't need my protection now. I was slightly stunned and looked at Su Tianxian. What Su Tianxian said is right. Now I do have the ability to protect myself, and I can even protect the people I want to protect. The hanged ghost flew away, and bits of starlight floated into the sky. I turned it over casually, and a golden blank secret book appeared in my hand. I activated the soul-stealing blood hand, directly grabbed the hanged ghost's soul that was about to dissipate, and then sealed it in the secret of heaven. The purpose of my doing this is to find the hiding place of that person through this remnant soul. If that person is not eradicated as soon as possible, there may not be peace along the way. After the hanged ghost was killed by Su Tianxian's thunderbolt, the hundreds of ghosts outside slowly retreated, which also allowed the surrounding environment to return to normal, and the white mist was dissipating at a speed visible to the naked eye. The driver was stunned. He sat on his seat and stared blankly ahead. Su Tianxian came to the driver's side, squeezed the magic formula with her hands, and then tapped the driver's eyebrows with her fingertips. The next moment, the driver was gasping for air like a drowning man. Su Tianxian said, the matter has been resolved. Just concentrate on driving and pretend you didn't see what happened just now. After saying that, Su Tianxian came to my side. Su Tianxian maintains the most basic kindness to everyone. I can't help but sigh, how can there be such a perfect woman in this world? Both appearance and character are impeccable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 979. I handed the secret urn containing the remnant soul of the hanged ghost to Su Tianxian and said, Tianxian, do you think you can find the hiding place of that person? Su Tianqian nodded, took the Tianmiru and started doing it. After a moment, Su Tianqian stood up, shook his head at me, and replied, "I can't find it." He concealed his breath, but as long as he releases his breath, the secret of heaven will react. I sighed slightly and said, "I don't know how dangerous this trip to Bamang Mountain will be." Su Tianqian raised his head, stared at me with his beautiful eyes, and said word for word, "As long as you are by my side, it doesn't matter how dangerous it is." Regarding Su Tianxuan's sincere words, I was instantly stunned. Yes. In this dangerous place in the world, if Su Tianqian is there, everything will seem so easy. The driver calmed down for a while, then continued driving to Bamang Mountain. We successfully arrived at Bamang Mountain at noon the next day. To be precise, it was a county town relatively close to Bamang Mountain. Then, we found a local car and continued moving forward. We changed carriages midway and finally walked to a mountain village. Entering the village, I found the village chief and negotiated with him. I said that we were adventurers here and hoped to stay here for one night. After hearing this, the village chief took a puff of dry cigarette and said, "Little boy, are you afraid that you want to go to Bamang Mountain?" I nodded. After hearing this, the village chief waved his hands and said, "You can live here, but you must not go to Bamang Mountain." Su Tianqian and I looked at each other, and we both saw solemnity in each other's eyes. I might be able to find out something about Bamang Mountain from the village chief. I asked, "Village chief? Isn't Bamang Mountain just a broken mountain? Are there any wolves, tigers, and leopards in this mountain?" The village chief looked at me deeply and smoked a dry cigarette. Soon the room was filled with smoke. It would be great if there were really only jackals, tigers, and leopards. The village chief suddenly lowered his voice and said, "Well, there are many emperors buried in Bamang Mountain. There are Yin soldiers guarding it day and night, and there have been many huge wars in Bamang Mountain. There are countless casualties, and the ghosts of those dead soldiers are still lingering in the mountains. In history, Bamang Mountain has indeed experienced two famous wars. They were the war between Wei and Zhou and the war between Zhou and Qi. Wherever a war breaks out, there are bound to be souls of the dead and dark soldiers appearing." The old village chief pointed in one direction and said, "That's Mamingu over there. On the 15th of every month, you can hear the sound of galloping horses in our village. We locals don't even dare to go to Bamang Mountain. I'm talking about you outsiders. There are many legends about Bamang Mountain. To name a few, the two boys chased the python, the spiritual bird repaid the favor, and the peony fairy. These three stories all happened in Bamang Mountain. I wonder if we can encounter them this time when we go to Bamang Mountain." In addition to illusions, there are two extremely mysterious places. The first place is the emperor's tomb, and the second is the tomb of famous people. Many emperors are buried in the imperial tombs, including Lu Chan, the empress of the Han dynasty, Sun Hao, the empress of the eastern Wu dynasty, Chen Shibao, the empress of the southern Chen dynasty. In Mang Mountain, in addition to the huge number of imperial tombs, there are also many celebrities from all dynasties buried there. These are the tombs of celebrities. Among the famous tombs are Yi Yin of the Shang dynasty, Boyi Shuqi who did not eat Zhuli, poets Du Fu, Wang Ziwen, Meng Qiao, Yan Zhenqing, Bai Zhuyi, and others. It seems that this trip to Bamang Mountain will definitely not be easy. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 980. The old village chief placed a few of us in his home. And he was warned not to go to Bamang Mountain. In the evening, we discussed with Su Tianqian, and I proposed that Miao Fengluan and I go to Bamang Mountain to get some information. Because the situation in Bamang Mountain is unknown, we must first obtain some information before we can enter. And Miao Fengluan has the power of concealment and can sneak in very well. It's easy for just the two of us to move around. After hearing this, Su Tianqian refused without thinking. "No, it's me and Miao Fengluan who have to go. Just wait for me here. I know she is worried about my safety. I smiled and said, Tianqian, it's not like you said before that I don't need your protection now. Even if I inquire about the information, nothing will happen. Su Tianqian was speechless for a moment. She didn't expect that I would talk about this matter. She opened her red lips lightly and stammered, that's what I said when there were outsiders. I have to give you some face in front of outsiders, right? I was stunned for a moment. I didn't expect Su Tianqian to answer me like this. Su Tianqian lowered his eyes and said with some disappointment, that's right. Now that your wings are strong, the master, can't control you anymore. It's up to you. With that said, Su Tianqian stood up and left the room. Looking at Su Tianxuan's leaving figure, the corner of my mouth twitched slightly. It was obvious that Su Tianqian was angry with me. I couldn't help but shake my head and smile bitterly. Why didn't I realize that Su Tianqian was a person who liked to be petty? But thinking about it carefully, she reacted the way she did now entirely because she cared about me. Concern is concern, I must go to Bamang Mountain. I found Miao Fengluan and made my thoughts clear to her. Miao Fengluan nodded after hearing this and said, okay, but do we need to tell Master Tianqian before we go? I nodded and said, I'll go talk to her right away. After saying that, I tiptoed to Su Tianxuan's door. Stretching out his hand, he gently pushed the door open and walked inside. Su Tianqian was lying on the bed, with her back to me, and the cold moonlight poured down, highlighting her graceful figure. I came to the bed and squatted down. Su Tianqian slowly turned his head, her beautiful eyes looking particularly bright in the night. The two of us looked at each other, and Su Tianqian quickly changed his gaze and turned his body away. What are you doing here? Su Tianxuan's voice was calm, but I could tell that she was angry with me. I smiled and said, let's see you. No need. Anyway, you won't listen to anything I say now. I couldn't help but smile to myself. I don't know why Su Tianqian, who is usually aloof and cold, turned out to be so cute when he was angry. I hesitated for a moment, stretched out my hand, and turned her body around. But Su Tianqian slapped my hand away. Tianqian, can you listen to me? Su Tianqian ignored me. I said to myself, now I have the ability to handle things independently. I have been living under your wings before, and now it's time for me to protect you. Think about it carefully, how much you have suffered because of me since we met. If you don't say anything else, just to say that you have to bear the blood evil for me, this kind of kindness is worth spending my whole life to repay. Su Tianqian slowly turned around and looked at me quietly with her starry eyes. She did not speak.